What's a GDE?
GDE is a IDFul Google Developer Expert, and it's a recognition from Google for individuals who've been doing like a lot of effort in trying to create content, presentations, and all that.
You seem very passionate about empowering communities. Where does that come from?
It came from just observing how I'm learning from the community. I was like, I also want to help people in the same way. You meet people in the community where they give you like 10 years of lessons in like 30 minutes.
Are there moments you wanted to give up on this community thing?
Especially for running events, that can be very hectic. I've organized a lot of events where even it's me and my friend. We come from the room same time, but it's an event where you are just you and your friend who you've been together. There's a lot of behind the scenes that goes behind. At times they are not paid. Okay, not at times, most of the times.
Getting that first role, how can they position themselves?
One, build your skills, put your name outside there.
Peak of their career, how much are they looking to earn?
That depends on your negotiation skills. Mostly maybe something from 4,000 USD and above.
Could you share some negotiation tips that you've learned over the years?
Always have a figure in mind, but also trying to ask what their budget is. So at that point also, when you have an offer letter, you can also try to negotiate. And
what do you think are some of the things that are overlooked?
Different cultures have different communication styles. Communication, which can also kill the company or maybe make the company successful. Communication is also like another thing that the company has to work on. Open communication channel, it has to be maintained in the companies.
We have a Google developer expert with us, the first male Android GDE in Kenya. Imagine that. He is one of the most valuable assets in the Android community. And I say this because he is consistently dedicated to sharing his knowledge, to organizing events, and most recently, even writing and publishing a book within the Android space. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Harun.
Thank you for the welcome. It's my pleasure to be here.
Karibu sana. Thank you so much for making the time. And we have a special surprise for you. Surprise-ish. Someone in the crew.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that is for like, congratulations on your book launch.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the work that you've done in the Android community. Thank you.
Thank you for the surprise.
For the surprise. All right.
Yeah.
So, Harun, I'm sure some people are wondering what GDE nini. What's a GDE? And
Yeah, so GDE is a IDFul Google Developer Expert, and it's a recognition from Google for individuals who've been doing like a lot of effort in trying to create content for people to consume, and then two, doing like a lot of community work, that is organizing communities, and also creating sessions, doing presentations and all that. So mostly it's a combination of those two and then done consistently. So because you find most of the GDEs, they've been doing like a lot of content creation for 2 to 3 years or even more. And they'll be doing it consistently. So you have to, one, maybe you are organizing a community, or the community, it doesn't have to be a Google community. You can also be running like your own community. Maybe let's say you're running Young Techies, or maybe the GDG communities or Developer Students Club. Or again, you're also mentoring people in the community, because that also counts. And then we also have things like doing sessions. You are consistently doing presentations in your domain. If you made, for myself, it's Android. So I was doing like a lot of sessions in Android and presentations. And then combine that with content creation, because they are recognizing you as an expert in your domain. So they have to check that you have something to prove that you're an expert. And how do you prove this? It's either by content creation or also giving technical sessions. And content creation, it's like diverse. It can be doing articles, podcasts, books, and whichever that you feel that you're comfortable with. It's diverse. or even because we also have other people who are answering Stack Overflow questions, and maybe you can also become a GD because you have the most answers in Stack Overflow. So any of that, then combine and doing it consistently. And why I'm saying consistently is because even after you become a GD, you still have to report your activity contributions so that you can be part of the program, because it renews yearly. So you have to. It's something that you are passionate about, not like the title, but you're passionate about creating content or empowering other developers. So even when you become a GD, it doesn't stop from there. So you still do a lot of content creation, you still do a lot of organizing communities, you still do a lot of mentoring. The only thing is that it gives you like a lot of eyeballs in a larger community, and also a lot of other benefits from the GD program.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if I wanted to become a GDE, what benefits does it give me aside from the eyeballs?
I think one, you get like a lot of network to begin with, because you get to interact with Googlers and other GDs in your field, and also other fields. That is like an avenue for maybe collaboration. And also we have like exclusive events from Google, let's say Google I/O, and other events that they normally organize throughout the year. So you get invites to those events, and also you get like travel support, because they recognize the work that you're doing in supporting the community. So if I'm going to speak at an event, let's say in Tanzania, you get like travel support for that. So that is, but travel support is also like, it's nice because it enables you to go travel and then speak to other communities in your area or even outside your area, and also network with those communities too.
Oh, wow. So even with these events, it's fully funded for a GDE?
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you apply to be a GDE?
Yes, you apply, or so the process is either an existing GD can recognize because you're still in touch with your community. So if I realize that you're doing a lot of content and you are also doing like a lot of mentoring, and you're also active in the community, I can either reach out to you and ask you, are you interested to become a GD, and also maybe try to show you the process and refer you, or you can be referred by a Googler. So if someone from Google, I think we have the regional team run by John and Alela, who also occasionally try to find people who suit the GD candidate, and then reach out to them and see whether they're interested to become a GD. And then they also guide you, because we have people who maybe you started your contributions, but there is something missing in your, maybe we call it like a community CV. All these things that you're doing, it's like a community CV. So if there's something missing, they can also guide you, or a GD also can also guide you to becoming like a GD. And then once they refer you, there's 3 steps in trying to become a GD. There's like an eligibility part where you submit this community CV, all these contributions that you've been doing. You submit them on a platform, and then they cross-check whether you are fit to become a GD, or whether your contributions are enough to become a GD, because it's not about the title, it's about the impact that you're doing. And they try to make, the only thing it does is the impact that you're doing, you get to do it in a more broader audience, because if I compare pre-GD and after GD, you get like, before GD you're mostly maybe dealing with the East African community, but after that you get to even reach out from different parts of the country, so they have to cross-check whether the impact that you're doing is enough for you to qualify to become a GD. And then after that you do 2 interviews. One is a community interview. That is also just checking what you do. Is it, do you do it, what is like the driving factor that makes you do these community contributions? And then the other one is a product interview. So the community interview, it's via like a fellow GD will interview you. And then for the product interview, it's a Googler in your domain who will ask you questions in Android, Angular, web, and then just to ascertain that you have the skills that you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Asking for a friend, are there GDEs for non-technical people?
I think we have like a lot of categories. I think I'm not sure we have like a lot of them, so you just go to the directory and then check. So I only know the technical bits, but I don't know the non-technical. But it has to be something within Google. For example, I think one clear example is the workspace. I think if you are very good in workspace, there's a GD for workspace. If I'm not wrong.
All right.
Yeah.
Harun, you seem very passionate. I can even feel from your presence. You seem very passionate about empowering communities and giving back and impact. Where does that come from?
Yeah, I think it came from just observing because I joined the community while I was still young when I was starting out in my career. And then from the impact that it had in my journey, I was like, I still want to do the same for the next person, like kind of creating like a ripple effect. I think that is like a quote from one of the community organizers called Michael Kimathi. So once you do that ripple effect, I think the same person you empower, I think will empower other different people. And then in long run, you will find that a whole bunch of people have been motivated. So I think community has been very crucial in my journey. You meet people who like elevate you and also teach you more things that you have learned on your own. And then I think after that, being in the community and then seeing how people are, how I'm learning from the community, I was like, I also want to help people in the same way. So that was like primarily my passion. Like that's why it originated, just from being helped. And then the other thing is that you meet people in the community where they give you like 10 years of lessons in like 30 minutes because they give you all their lessons, all their failures, all their mistakes. You don't have to repeat what they did.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through the same pains that they did because they're sharing the whole journey with you. So you get a lot of benefits in like a short period of time. Yeah, so there's also that aspect.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know giving to anything can also be a bit stressful. Are there moments you wanted to give up on this community thing?
Yeah, I think at times mostly you do a lot of effort and then it doesn't come because there's a lot of behind the scenes that goes behind running communities, running events, or even doing presentations. And at times it isn't that evident. So, at times people can take that for granted or even not appreciate whatever you're doing. Yeah, so you have like those moments where you just cross-check with yourself, why am I still doing this? And then you go back to maybe the initial mission and like you have to have like that why part. Why am I doing this? I'm not doing just for the sake. So if you have that why, you just cross-check in those moments where you are like, why am I still doing this? Because at times, especially for running events, that can be very hectic. So when you are trying to get an event together, at times they are not paid. Okay, not at times. Most of the times, most of these events, you do it either out of your pocket or voluntary. So while trying to organize the events and you're like, why am I still doing this? Because it's a lot of effort and at times you don't get the direct benefit at that point. Mostly the benefit is to those people who are attending. So times you question yourself, especially when you're working with diverse teams, because as I'm saying, most of these people, we are not paid. So we have like this whole team coming together, trying to organize a conference. Conflicts arises at times, differences come in between, but at times it becomes way hard. You have to ask yourself, why am I still doing this? But again, you sit down and then ask yourself questions. And then when you see, after the event is when you're like, I see why I'm doing this after the successful event. But yeah, those moments are they occur once in a while.
Tell us about an event or a situation where you feel like you failed, like an event that actually flopped, if you have.
I think I have a different philosophy in most events.
Okay.
And I try to maybe tell that to a lot of people. Most people think like if I organize like an event and then 2 people come, that event is a failure. I think, but for me, I started viewing it differently because I've organized a lot of events where even it's me and my friend we've come from the room same time, but it's an event where you are just you and your friend who you've been together like for the rest of the time. So I think from that point is when I realized that as long as you can make that impact to one person, or as long as you can deliver if the event was to speak about this topic and you spoke about that topic as expected, I think that is also success. It's not a failure. So I try to look at events in that angle and not failure, but the lessons that you get from that event. And then after organizing them consistently, you just learn how to go from 2 to 4 to 6 and all that. So I think in terms of failing, I think it would be very hard to say that there's this event I organized and I feel that it was a failure, because from every event, I take the positives and then also try to take the negatives that were there, and then just try to see how do I improve it for the next event.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can't remember of one.
Okay.
Out of, but I think mostly that's the philosophy. So even if it was like a very bad event and people were like, yeah, this event went bad, I think what I'll normally just try to reflect and then try to make lessons for the next one.
So picking out the lessons.
Yeah, pick out the lessons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, for example, the situation you just mentioned where you organize an event, numbers are a big thing.
Yeah.
It's a big source of anxiety. And you're only you and your friend. What lesson can they pick out from that?
It's because like we have, so for every event it has to be like what value proposition are you bringing on the table. So you don't just organize the event because you can organize. So what we used to do, we have like topics that we are sharing. So for example, my friend is good in, let's say, Angular, and I'm good in Android. So they can share something about Angular, which we don't talk regularly on that event. So after that, at least I'll learn something about Angular, which I was not aware.
Okay.
And then I think in software, the more you listen from other people, the more you also try to grasp more foundation and then try to get similarities and all that. So the value proposition part usually plays key in trying to get the lesson. So if you get it right, I think you get most of the things right for the event.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to know what kind of a child was Harun, who has grown up to, create this great career and also impact communities. What kind of a child were you?
I think I'll say like normal child. nothing. So I was like, I'm a firstborn. And then normal school life, and then primary, high school, campus, and then I don't think there was anything. The tech part only came after when I was in campus. Yeah, it was like a pure out of coincidence. Because initially I wanted to do engineering, but I didn't qualify. So computer science was my next kind of course that I'll do. And it was like out of pure chance that computer science and me became like a perfect match. Yeah. So
Would you say you were introverted or more extroverted as a child?
very introverted as a child because so I was alone, and then I have like a younger sister. So, but for the most growing up, I was alone, and I was very much introverted. And then I think the tech part is what made me speak more and become more open to people and all that. But growing up, I was a very introverted person.
So I'd really like for you to speak to the introvert watching this. How important is it to come out of your shell and, do the things that are a bit uncomfortable for them in their career, and what can they do to?
Yeah, I think if you don't speak a lot for yourself, at times you are very disadvantaged, because you can be in a room where you are the most qualified person, but since you don't speak for yourself, no one will ever realize that. Or until you have people who know what you can do, and then they have to speak for yourself. I think when I was starting out, I had like such situations where a lot of my friends knew what I could do, but since I wasn't speaking out much, no one could actually know I can do this. So they were actually like speaking out for me. But I think what I realized, that you can be very qualified, but you're not given those opportunities because you don't speak out for yourself. And for me, what I did is I took like I knew there is certain action you can do for you to get out of that comfort area, because the more you stay there, the more you miss out on a lot of things. The more you also don't speak out your whole truths and all that. So what I did, I know is the more you, especially speaking in events, the more it alleviates. You have to create conversation with people, because now if you speak to like a popular topic in Android right now, people will approach you with questions, and that's how conversation starts. So I think that was like the very thing I was doing 2019, 2018, just trying to speak at events, and then people will approach you. And then once they approach you, they start the conversation, so you don't have to start the conversation yourself. And I think that worked a lot. And then trying to also send whatever you do, if you are working on an article, if you're working on a book, if you're working on a podcast, just try to share it on your socials. so that people can also know this is what Harun does. And I think from that they can, it starts conversations, even you don't have to do the conversations. And over time, the more you speak, the more you start gaining like familiarity with, in this situation, if I'm maybe nervous, I think this is what I can do to elevate the whole situation. In this situation, I can do this. And I think the more you speak to people, the more you actually become more extroverted. Right now, I'm actually more extroverted than I was before because I think I have now, because talking to many people, you now have a lot of stories, you know, you can relate to people, you know what to do and all that. So I normally just find a way to, that can maybe elevate the, or you can come out of that shelf or that comfortable level.
Okay. Has it impacted your career, like in terms of getting opportunities because of that? Has speaking out, has speaking at events contributed to you getting opportunities?
Yeah, I think because people normally see what you're doing and then they're like, you don't have to, actually it speaks volume for you because someone will be, I saw you speak at this event, so I'm very interested in what you're doing. Yeah, so it gives you also opportunities and also it makes you, it speaks for you even when you don't have to explain that this is what I do. Yeah, I've seen like numerous situations where people are like, I've seen your LinkedIn, I've seen your writing articles, I'll be interested for us to work on this together and all that without you having to tell them this is what I do. Yeah, so it speaks a lot for you.
Right.
Yeah.
So Harun, a lot of people who get into software engineering have trouble finding what path they should take in software engineering. Should I do Android? Should I do, how do I navigate that? So I want you to speak to this person who's a bit confused, or how did you get your path into Android? What would you advise them?
Yeah, I think the first answer I tell people is if I tell you come to Android, I'll be very biased because I love Android. So, and people are like, yeah, because I'm seeing you're doing amazing things on Android, can I join Android? And I'm like, no, I cannot recommend you to do Android because I'm doing. So that is normally the first thing you have to do. Because there is normally a phase where you have to experiment and try out like a lot of things, and then until you find that one thing that excites you. Because if I look back at my journey, I had like a 2-year period where I was trying to learn web design, backend, a little backend, and also trying to experiment on those things, but they were not as that exciting. So everyone has that period, and then once you try out maybe mobile or maybe another stack, that's when you realize that I'm loving this more than the other one. So until there's that moment, I'm not sure at what point it comes exactly in your career, but you have to realize that this is what I love doing. And when I try to learn this, I'm understanding more than the other one. Yeah. As opposed to just listening to someone tell you, come to Angular, you will get jobs. It doesn't work at times because because at times all these stacks, they have their own disadvantages. For example, Android, I've had a lot of people quit Android because of Android Studio issues, maybe trying to configure your environment, trying to learn all these things. But because of that passion, that's what keeps you going, because at least you know this is exciting to do, even if you are faced by a lot of challenges and a lot of because at times it can be discouraging trying to do one thing maybe for a whole day and nothing is working out. So if you don't have that moment where you realize that I love doing this, I think you just give up and then just go to another stack. So until you find that moment, I think you just try it out and then find your perfect niche, and then after that, now just try to be consistent and then try to learn the ins and out of the language that you've chosen. Not mostly about, don't pick it because this is more marketable than this one. Just ensure that you have the necessary skills to make you employable at any place in the stack.
Okay.
That's why I normally tell people, I'll not tell you to choose Android, because if you face issues, you'll blame me in your entire life. That this guy told me Android is easy and it's not easy. Yeah, and no programming language is easy until you put your mind to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've said 2 years you're experimenting.
Yeah.
During those 2 years, at one point, did you think, okay, this is not for me? I want to quit?
It's a funny story because so I was still experimenting in campus. And back then, I think I realized that studies will no longer be my thing. Like I enjoy doing the tech stuff rather than reading stuff. So I was like, tech is my kind of ride or die thing. If I don't make it in tech, I don't have like an option to go back and then get a first class or get like a second upper or whatever grade that maybe can make you be employable in those places that require like maybe good grades or good campus grades. So for me, I was like, I'll try. If it doesn't make sense, you just take a break or just go do something else and then come back. Yeah, but during that period, I think events used to help a lot because you go and meet people and then learn a lot during those events. Even if at times it doesn't make sense, but the more you consume a lot of content, the more you get curious and the more you learn a lot of new things. And then what helped in back, I had like a learning buddy, someone who we were at the same level, try to learn Android. So whatever, whenever it's challenging, we'll maybe discuss, or whenever I've tried to maybe done a new thing, I'll go and share with him, and that made it easier because you have someone who is also learning at the same time that you're learning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, they talk about the 10,000 hours to becoming an expert. When you were learning, how many hours a day would you code to get to where you are now?
I think it's quite a lot because so we didn't have like a lot of classes, so mostly it was just learning. So during that phase, it was like a lot of hours. I can't quantify them, but it was like maybe a lot of late nights, a lot of during the day trying to figure out things, trying to learn new things and all that. Yeah, so it was a lot. Mostly we were quantifying with worker time. So you'll find like in a week, you put like 60 hours just trying to learn something or just try to work on this project. And 60 hours in a week is like a lot of hours.
Yeah.
You're trying to put like 10 hours a day. Yeah, just trying to work on something, which is like, if I compare right now, it's mostly like 30 to 40 hours at most. Even 30 hours you've overworked. But back then you'll find you're easily doing 60 to 65 hours a week of doing like a project or trying to learn something. Yeah.
Okay, so as a GDE, what would you say are the keys to creating a successful Android application? What would you say are some of the things you'd say? So the tips to help you build a good.
I think successful, is it like from a software perspective or from a user perspective?
Definitely
Because
from a software. You can do both.
yeah, because I think from a software perspective, you have to look at one, I think, is the code base easily scalable and maintainable because it's something that you're working on consistently, you have to make it easy for you to work on the code base and easy for you to add features and maintain it at the same time. And then testing also, how easy it is to test your code base. Also, like as a software metric is very key. Is it easy to test your code base, or you have to do tricks and hacks to make it testable? And then what else? I think there's a lot of things, especially in Android, that contribute to just making an app. But I think top of mind, I'll say those two. And then from a user perspective, how easy is it for your users to use your app without you explaining to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is normally the baseline.
The standard.
Yeah, if you have to explain it to them, I think your app is complex. It's like a joke. If I have to explain it to a joke, it doesn't become a joke anymore. So if you have to explain to your users like this is how you use your app, it means that your UI UX is very complex.
Okay,
Yeah.
that says that to Jira.
Yeah.
Telling Jira that. So what would you encourage upcoming Android devs to focus on, especially with the tech space evolving so quickly every day? Right now, what would you encourage them to focus on?
I think right now it's foundations because things change every now and then, especially in the Android side of things. Like every 2 weeks, they have like new releases which break things at times. So I think if you have the foundations right, you can easily adapt to anything that comes your way. So I think that is the key thing. Just ensure you have the foundations right. And in this case, for Android, it's you understand KOTLIN as a language, and also you understand Android as a platform. So I think with those two, whichever change that comes, I think you're also able to evaluate whether this change, does it make sense to add this change to my app or not? Because you also don't add the changes because they're coming. because you'll keep on that cycle. We have this new thing, let me introduce you to my app, and then 2 weeks later you have another new thing. So with the foundations right, as you can easily discern, like maybe this is right for my app, this is not right for my app. So I can say just get the foundations right, and then the rest of the things will flow.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're very big on preaching that people should read documentation. Why?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah, it's because like when I was learning, I think I wasn't reading like documentation as much. I was preferring just see like a video or maybe an article of some people doing XYZ, and then you stop at that point, and then you realize maybe in an interview someone asks you what does this do, and then you can't be able to explain what maybe XYZ thing does. And then at that point is when you realize that you know how to do something, but you can't explain to someone how to do it. And I think explaining, especially in a work environment, most of the times you're forced to explain how to do something. Let's say PMs come with the feature, you have to probably explain to them how to do it in Android in a less technical way, because even if you tell them this is a floating action button, they don't know what a floating action button is at times.
I'm a
Yeah.
PM.
Yeah, or maybe some component that you use in Android, at times it's hard for them to know the exact technical names. So without reading the documentation, you can't grasp the entire concept. So I noticed like once I started like now reading the documentation, you also learn how to do it on yourself. Because, for example, if I'm teaching you from an article, I'm teaching you to do it in my way. But it doesn't mean you are also supposed to do it in my way in your app. You are supposed to find a way to do it in your app. And mostly documentation is the one that teaches you the foundations, and then you can now apply the foundations in your app.
Okay.
Yeah, because most people will show you like, I'm using this movie app, you're not working on a movie app. So how will you use this technology to solve your problem? So I think at that point is when I realized that when I did the documentation, I'm more empowered to even customize everything, understand what it's doing, and then even be able to explain to people. And also explaining is because at times I work on a lot of articles, video courses, or even technical sessions. So you have to also learn how to explain to people things in a layman's language without having to lose them. So that also contributes, because if you don't read the documentation, you'll not know how to explain. Or someone will ask you like a curveball question and you're like, I'm not sure how to do that. Which is okay, but at times, if you go through the documentation, at least it solves half the I don't know kind of questions.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. So now that you put in you got to discover Android and you liked it,
Yeah.
tell us a bit about how you got your first role. How did you get your first job?
It was very interesting because we were still in campus. Remember, we had like a 1 year, 8 months break because of lecturer strikes. And then I was in an internship, the school one, that maybe you're supposed to do because of graduating. And then after, I wasn't absorbed in that company because they wanted like someone who could do iOS and Android, and I could only do Android at that point. So that's how I didn't get the role. And at that point, there was my supervisor was called Marvin, and then we were like kind of close friends because he was also in Moi University. So what we did is he had like these ideas for apps where we could work on, and then on the side as I was trying to learn and trying to maybe grasp the concept. At that point he was like an Android developer, but switched entirely after now he completely taught me how to build Android applications. So, and then he had a company called Apps Lab, which he was running on the side. So that's how actually we started now working together. So we attended one hackathon where there was this client who was looking for young devs to work with, and we were very young at that point. So it started like just a conversation after the hackathon. Hey, I'm looking for young developers to work on a solution. And do you know where if Kenya is a thing where we have a lot of young developers working in tech, of which I think by that time we have a lot of, I think most developers were, even right now you will have developers we have a young age. And then, so he requested for a meeting the next day, it became serious, and I wasn't expecting it. So I only told Marvin like, hey, there's this person who wants to meet. So because at that point I didn't know to meet clients. I was only doing like a development side of things, and I don't know, I don't have an experience meeting clients or negotiating anything. So, and then he was serious. By the end of the meeting, he was like, hey, I can pay flights for you guys to come to Uganda, and then we can discuss. It was like a school management system. Yeah, and then after, I think that was our first client for AppsLab, and then we were like, now we have a client, so we have to now start working. So, and then that's how it started, and then that was like my now first role, but it was like a company that we are running.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Just before I forget, I actually get that a lot, especially during founder meetups. I would encourage devs to go on founder meetups because a lot of founders are usually looking for young developers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty solid. So how can an Android engineer today in the very competitive landscape position themselves to get opportunities like quicker? Because I know a lot of people ask, how do I get a job? How do you know that getting that first role? How can they position themselves?
Yeah, I think unfortunately, there is normally like not a good answer for that,
Yeah.
because it normally it's like one of those things that it depends. But mostly, one, it's just trying to build your skills, and then trying to put your name outside there. And then we have like a lot of opportunities. We have like a lot of local meetups. We have a lot of international meetups that are very open to speakers every now and then, or even just writing articles, creating podcasts, creating articles and all that. So that is like one way you can just put yourself outside there. And then, yeah, keep on like applying, and then until you find the right job. But before, as you apply, the only thing I encourage people is just try to build your portfolio. So you can be having like a project that you're working on your GitHub, and then you also learn as you're waiting for this job. Because if you wait for the job, maybe you can stay 2 years, or well, you still don't have a role. So in these 2 years, what are you doing? Are you still waiting for the job, or are you still doing something? So I encourage a lot of people, just try to work on something real. Take movie app to do apps. We have like a lot of examples where you can just practice your skills, and then you realize by doing like these real world projects, you gain a lot of skills that even when you go to an interview, you have something to say. When people ask you, what have you done? You have like a project that you can describe to people, as opposed to just having a blank CV where yes, I learned software engineering and it ends at that. So just try to also build something or your portfolio on the side. And then the other thing is we have, again, to the communities. They're like a big aspect. That's where you meet a lot of people. You network with the CTOs, founders, and people also who are hiring too, or companies, employees who know like the company is hiring. So the more you push yourself outside there, because if you have like someone who knows what you can do, the more they can speak for you when you're not there. So also communities play like a big part in trying to get your roles, because I think for me, for my previous 3 roles was through referral, and it's someone who we met from the community.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it normally helps a lot when you are in the community, and then try to network with, in as much as networking can be hard at times, especially if you are new to the community, and if you are also not that outspoken, but just try to, the easiest way is just trying to approach like the speaker or maybe the organizers, because most of organizers are very friendly. Even if maybe they can be up and down in trying to organize the event, they are very welcoming. So you can speak to them, and then just having someone who knows what you can do, because you'll find most people are asked, do you know someone who can do XYZ? And then you look at your community portfolio and then see if you know someone.
Okay, all right. So because of how tech is so wide, there's so much to do, so many areas you can get into.
Yeah.
A lot of techies feel lost very often. Have you ever felt lost on your journey?
I think not, because I think I chose Android and ran away with it. So mostly I never felt like I should do other things. And also the thing that helped is I also don't like learning new things, especially in terms of trying to learn like a new language. I'm like, I think I want to stick to one thing first and then just broaden. Especially when I was starting out, I was very intentional in trying to just stick to Android until I master everything. And also you can't also master everything, so it's like a continuous cycle. So just sticking to one lane and then you can broaden like way further. Like right now for me, it's easier for me to pick up even another language and learn easily as opposed to when I was starting out. Because when you're starting out, when you start like looking at another language apart from the one that you're doing, it all seems foreign. But right now it's easier for me to like pick up another skill and add this to my portfolio. So I think just sticking to one, um, even if you might feel like maybe it's not working out for the first few times, but if you stick to one and then try to be consistent and then try to gain as much skills. And then it also goes back to the point I was saying, you have to have like that passion for it. Because beyond the money, beyond everything, you have to have like something that pushes you to still continue doing Android or continue learning and improving your skills. So that passion and then just doing it consistently, it becomes more easier. And then you start now enjoying it because you can be able to understand the concepts and then be able to do something on your own.
Okay.
Yeah.
This introduces the great debate
Yeah.
of should I specialize or generalize? Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think for me, specialize and then, if need be, later on you can generalize.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So, specialize, then
Yeah.
generalize is what the advice you'd give.
Yeah, the only problem is generalizing when you're starting, because you have to realize at what point you are in your career. Because if you are at the very beginning, if you generalize, you'll only know a bunch of things. You'll only know Android, a little bit of it, web, a little bit of it, and then backend, a little bit of it. You can't specialize. And all these three stacks, they keep on evolving and changing differently. So you can't keep up, especially when you're learning, you can't keep up with all those three. So when you're starting, but we have people with special abilities like polymers who can maybe do like a lot of things at the same time. So if you have those abilities, then you can generalize. But when you're beginning, I think you try to specialize, and then later on you'll find, because programming is foundational, still the same. You have to declare variables, you have to write functions, classes, and all that. Depending on the language it's only different in depending on the language that you're choosing. So if you have those foundations right of software engineering, I think later on it's easier for you to pick up another stack and then learn, and then still apply the lessons that you have learned so far in this new language. Yeah.
So I think there's a period of experimentation
Yes.
where you're trying things.
Yeah.
And then when you try it, you specialize, and then
Yes.
you can generalize on
Yeah.
that knowledge. Very interesting. So even on your Android journey where you knew exactly what you wanted, is there a time where you wanted to give up or you felt a bit lost or uncertain about your career?
Let me see. Start to, but at times it's when, like mostly it's when you can't try to maybe grasp all the concepts, because especially during the learning periods, because all these concepts are new, and then you can't be able to maybe grasp all of them at once, and then you're trying to understand something and then it keeps on evolving. There is this new thing that has been introduced, so at times you're like, hey, should I still continue or should I look for something else? But at the same time, as I mentioned, like for me, when I started doing like tech, it was very evident for me that I have to make it like a career out of this, especially when during my very last years of campus, I was like, after campus, I need to have something to do and not just go back home and then sit there and then wait for my parents to sort me out. So I knew like I needed to have that sorted. So any day I'll feel like maybe try to give up. I think just take breaks and then come back with a fresh idea, or come back with a fresh look and then try to look things differently. Yeah.
Okay. Has there been a particularly challenging season for you in your career?
Yes. I think when we were running like our own company during that period, 2018, 19, so COVID came. And then because mostly we are relying on clients, we didn't have like client for 1 year. So you can imagine you are trying to run a business for 1 year and then you don't have like clients. So it was very, very, very challenging for us. And then and the challenge was we also were people who were just loving to write software, no marketing team, no accounting team, or no people who are specialized in those running company kind of a thing. So we are learning also on the job. So it was like a whole year of trying to figure out what to do next and what to go after this whole COVID thing. So it was like one tough year, which I think, but also had its own lessons, which I still apply to date, and just trying to manage everything. So I think after that is when we decided like, hey, I think we can all maybe diverge a bit and then trying to see what other options that can work for us. Yeah, so I switched from being self-employed to now employment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. What are some of the lessons you learned from that season?
Yeah, I think mostly it's about running things. Mostly if you're trying to maybe build a startup, I'll maybe recommend people to have like either you have like a lot of savings or a lot of funds to run it. Don't just go with your whole chest just trying to run it out of passion, because you have to you have to you have to run the company and you have to pay some bills and all that. And then secondly, involve like professionals, even if you can quickly pick up learning new things, because for example, I can pick up maybe learning finance things and maybe just know a thing or two very quickly, but it's better to have professionals to do that rather than trying to run everything yourself. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, those were kind of interesting thing. And also the other thing is trying to have like a, what do we call it, budgeting and mostly financial awareness, in terms of have like a budget for even worst case scenarios when you don't have any cash flow coming in your in your account or in your business, because it's very important. It keeps you sane when you don't have like maybe clients, or when you don't have like any other job. So just having like that budgeting in mind can also help you, because it's crazy when you don't have clients, you don't also have the cash, and you're still supposed to run things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you got referred to for your role,
Yeah.
and continued your journey in self-employment.
Yes.
I mean, in employment, up to where you are today.
Yes.
So Harun, there's someone curious, probably as a junior Android developer, or someone looking to get into Android. What does it look like for them, like at peak in terms of salary? Peak of their career, how much are they looking to earn?
Yeah, I think mostly that depends on your negotiation skills. It can go as high as your negotiation skills, but you'll find mostly maybe something from 4,000 USD and above. You'll find like people earning even maybe twice, 3 times the amount, depending on, again, how you started, because I believe everyone has a unique journey. We don't have the same, even if we might be 200 developers, same years of experience, but everyone has a unique journey. So depending on all these experiences and depending on how long you started your employment cycle, it also contributes like a lot, because if you started early, the more your salary increases as you go over the years. So there is like a lot of factors. There is no like definite like this is what you should learn, but also it also factors in a lot of things. And also we have like company policies and also regions that you are working on. For example, if you're working in a company in Kenya, it might be different from a company from the US or a company from Europe, or the same. So
Okay.
it's a lot of factors to get to that one salary, but depending on the whole journey that you had, it can either be way higher or maybe lower, or, but again, you don't compare yourself with other people, because that's where you go wrong, because you have your own journey. And it's all, if you have someone who is earning maybe more than you in the same kind of capacity, what you do is try to learn what they're doing and you're not doing.
Yeah.
So you're not saying that, hey, I'm underpaid, I'm not, yeah. So you just try to, how do they negotiate? How do they come up with maybe valuing themselves? Because it's all about people sharing and then people talking about salaries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you share some negotiation tips that you've learned over the years?
I think number one is always have a figure in mind, because most people, you can go in an interview and then they'll ask you what are your salary expectation, and if you are not prepared, you'll just say like a rough amount which you are not sure. So if you're going to an interview, just do the mathematics. Maybe for your current role, what increase are you looking forward to, so that when you have the numbers right, even if they ask you for a justification, you're like, this is why I'm asking for this amount. So having like a figure in mind always helps you. And then talking to your peers also helps a lot, because if you don't know what your peers are running, you don't know what is happening. You can think you're the best person in the room, or you're the most paid person in the room. But if you listen to other stories, it also helps you. And then negotiation can also be tricky. I'm not like that much of a good negotiator, but also trying to ask what their budget is can also help. Although most people don't answer that question, they'll only give you that this is the offer that we're giving you. So at that point also, when you have an offer letter, you can also try to negotiate and trying to tell them like, hey, I was looking for this amount, but you people are giving this amount. So at that point, you can also negotiate depending on how easy or how flexible they are. They can either add it or maybe maintain their current offer.
Okay, all right. So now that your career has kind of really solidified, why did you decide to write a book?
I think for a book, a while back I started writing articles back in when I was doing my internship. I was trying to do something like, I had this application, which was a to-do application where you write, you have like your tasks, and then it had like a fancy clock that had an animation, like a clock where you, I think that was we tried to save that clock a lot, because we had done like a lot of animation to make the clock move and all that. So the challenge was you have to repeatedly send like a notification every 8 a.m. or whatever time the user have chosen to receive the notification. And if you work on especially the Chinese manufacturers kind of devices, you'll find that they don't work consistently. The notification don't work, or whatever you're trying to do programmatically doesn't work at all times. But if you have other phones, like let's say Samsung and all that, you'll find that it's working all the time. So that was like a challenge that I faced. And then I decided like, hey, I can write this article down. And then after writing articles, after some time, I joined like the Codeco team. It was previously called Revendalik. They were looking for Android authors, and I was like, I have like a couple of technical articles which I can present to them. And then I joined the team February 2020. And then so the team, they work on video courses, articles, and also books. So I joined like as an Android author. So worked on like a number of articles, like 7 of them for 2020 and 2021.
Paid?
Yeah, it's paid.
Okay.
Yeah. After working on the articles, they were like, every now and then they announce like a call for authors for books. So if a topic is interesting to you, you just pick it up. And then they have these check-ins with the CEO, where the CEO tries to maybe analyze your career progression as a writer too, or also outside life, how are you progressing? How is your career going? So it's like a yearly check-in. So in that, so mostly I had this, I was like, I want to do a book in 2 years. So that was back in 2021. So that's what I told the CEO, like, I see you people call for out there. So I'm just trying to learn more to write, because once you get to paid writing, it's very different from the medium articles that you do. The book, they have guidelines, they have English style. They also have like things that you have to follow. Not just write technical articles, and you have to follow their guidelines, and you have to also ensure that everything is up to their quality. So I was like, let me learn a little bit, because I'm like maybe 1.5 years in. So let me learn like 3 years, and then probably I'll have more experience to even write a book. And the CEO was like, I can talk to the book team lead, and then we see what we can do. And then the next day I had an email from the book team lead, and they're like, we have this opportunity to write the 2nd edition of the Saving Data in Android book. Are you interested? Because the CEO mentioned that you might be interested in writing a book, and that's how it started. So the 2nd edition was trying to just update the current edition libraries, and if in case any information has changed, just rewrite it, or you can do the whole chapter afresh. So we were like 3 authors. Each author was 7 chapters, and that's how I started like my first book. And then the second one was the team from Pact reach out after seeing. So I still do like a lot of technical articles even now and video courses. So the team from Pact reach out from via LinkedIn. They were like, we've seen your work and we'd like to collaborate on a book with you. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm normally, so whenever you push me ideas which are new to me, I'm normally very open to trying out because why not? So and that's why we now started writing this book.
Which is this book,
Yeah.
guys. You can buy it on Amazon.
Yeah.
Really good book. I mean, I wouldn't know. It looks nice. That's the best I can say as a PM. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how, if someone is looking to write a book as well, or kind of go the same way,
Yeah.
is there a company that they should reach out to?
Yeah, we have. I think I'll share like a link. We also have we have a bunch of publishers. I think Pact is one of them. We have Codeco, the one that the team that I'm in. We also write a lot of books, video courses, and all that. And we also have a lot of paid writing opportunities.
That would be
Like
good.
I think I normally this is something I'm trying to also tell people that content creation can also be like a career on its own, which you don't have to be like a programmer or you don't have to work on maybe a job, but you can also choose this because we have a lot of publishers every now and then just trying to request me like, hey, can we work on a project together? Can we do this together?
Yeah.
Especially once they have seen your portfolio. Yeah, and we have someone who has curated a list of all those paid writing opportunities. And
Okay.
because it's all that like writing a book these are like 14 articles
Put
joined together. So
yeah.
once you know how to write articles, it's easy for you to write a book.
Okay.
And all these publishing companies, at least so far the ones I've worked with, they have guides, which makes it easier for you to even write. You just have to follow the guides and then write the book and then just tweak it in your own personality.
Okay, I will definitely share the resources here in the thing, the description box.
Yeah.
And is it specifically just for Android or other domains?
They have all domains.
Oh, interesting.
Machine learning, web, Angular, and all that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All
Not
right.
only Android.
All right.
Yeah.
So Harun, as we wind up, what would you say are the three key pillars you would put it down to three key pillars that you would encourage an Android developer to almost not live by, but be his guiding compasses? What would you say are three things they should focus on? Like, these are the things that should guide you in your journey from your perspective.
One is consistency. Yeah, I think it always goes a long way, just being consistent in one thing. And then secondly, documentation. I still love to remind people, read the documentation a lot. And then thirdly is just finding like a community that you fit in and that has the same values as you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So if today you stumbled upon your younger self in the lift as you're going home, what would you say to them?
My younger self?
Yeah.
I think, let me see if there's something I tell my younger self. But mostly it's just do not be afraid to speak out your truth and also sharing what you do. Because at times you find you are very scared of how people will, especially look at you or how people will judge you. But I'll just tell him, don't be afraid. Just continue doing whatever you are doing. And in the end of it all, it will make sense. Even if it's not making sense at that point, in the end of things. Like when once you start looking things in retrospective, you start to see like, yeah, this thing is making sense. Yeah, because I've had a lot of moments where you look back and then see, I think this what I did at this period really makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
The dots always connect.
Yeah, they connect in the end.
In the end.
Yeah.
Okay. Any final word to techies?
Mine is just to, I think, tell them to still keep pushing. We still have like a lot to do as a country and also as a continent. Because we still have to also create tools, libraries for people to use, and let's not be more consumers. So let's try to also be the creators, which I think it's a new trend that I'm seeing. We have a lot of people now embracing lighting open source libraries and all that. So yeah, we still have like a country to represent outside here. Yeah, because I think just putting Kenya on the map really means a lot, because once you travel outside or once you go to other events and then hear people, I think I've seen the Kenyan community is very active. It really means a lot. So we still keep pushing, and then as a country, as a continent. Yeah.
All right. I want to do something interesting that I haven't done in any other video.
Yeah.
I want to give my team an opportunity to ask questions if they have. And I want to start with Marie.
So we were having a little chit chat, and we were talking about remote work per se, and the trajectory it has really taken from the COVID time until now. So basically, the roles that you're doing right now, the past 3 roles have been remote jobs. So how has the transition been for you, and what does it take to do a better transition in that perspective?
Yes, so for me, I think funny thing is most roles I've worked on apart from the internship have been fully remote. So I've never had to go to like an office on the daily. But I think after COVID, we had like a lot of companies now embracing remote working, which I think was due to the situations that the whole the whole country was in, or the whole world was in. But I think recently, I think for the last 2 years, I've been seeing like a lot of companies now trying to tell people, hey, we can have a hybrid situation, or we can have like a full work from office kind of a thing. So we have like a lot of companies doing that. I've been seeing like people complain a lot about that. But what I normally tell people is, as you are trying to apply for a company, they normally say, is it a hybrid role? Is it a fully remote role? Or is it a work to office role? I think, and then again, if it aligns with you or the role that you're looking at, you just have to apply or not apply. Because for me, I think normally being used to working remotely, I think I'd say that is normally like a big consideration. I've never, even if we have an office, I'll probably go to the office once in a while. But I'll prefer like a fully remote role. And then secondly is, let me see. Secondly is at times, so working remotely is also, you have to be very disciplined with yourself, because there's a lot of flexibility. You can wake up at any time that you want, or even work at any point, work at any time that you want. But at the same time, you have to be disciplined. Does whatever you are doing align with the employer? Because you'll find people, I think, you misusing that discipline, because I find a lot of people were like, I don't think I have the discipline to work from home, because you'll find you are always not focused, or you're trying to focus on other things. So it requires like a lot of discipline for you to consistently work fully remotely and also deliver on the job. So I think that is also like a thing that as much as you have flexibility, because I think especially for fully remote roles, they're like, you can work from anywhere, even probably your car, maybe at the gym or whatever you like. But at the same time, it requires like that discipline that, you know, when it's time to deliver, you have to deliver. So I think that discipline is also key, just trying to ensure that you also make it in working in a fully remote environment.
Okay, just to add on that, actually, when you're applying for remote roles, do you apply to remote roles that say EMEA or Kenya or worldwide? Ni gani ndio mtu anaweza pata rahisi, basically?
So mostly you'll find there is this joke that the A in EMEA is normally silent, especially for most US roles. You'll find that they'll say remote, but you have to be in the US at times. So you have to be also keen on what kind of roles that you're looking at. We have good companies out there, but we also have companies that also discriminate slightly. So I think it's a matter of chance, which depending on which company you find, you can find a good company that accepts all locations. And I think for most companies, they try to specify the kind of remote that they want. You'll find that yes, it's remote, but they want you to be in Germany because of one, we also have like things like policies. We have like country policies that maybe just don't allow you to have like employees outside your country, or things like those. Or because also one thing that you have to put in mind is that every country has different labor laws, and if you're trying to hire like a fully diverse remote team, you have to
Adhere to
you have
it.
to adhere to all those rules. So you find some companies will maybe tend to maybe say it's fully remote in Germany, we can relocate you, but it's because of the the laws that they have in their country.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, are there any particular sites that you focused on? Because the past 3 roles have been remote. Is there a site that helped? Ah, you got it through a referral.
It's by
Alas,
referral. I think
alas.
by Jumalan, a good friend. So
Okay.
mostly it's for me it's mostly through referral. So
Okay.
I've never it's referral where you have to
Okay.
apply, not where you just have to enter. Because I still
Yeah.
did
The
interviews in all those
interviews.
3
Yeah.
companies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've mostly sites you'll find LinkedIn and also company websites. So what I do normally, because I also have like a bunch of friends who normally ask, do you have like a new role? So for example, if you mention young techies, I'll go to your company, your website, and then see careers, and then see, is there a career that I can recommend one of my friends? Yeah, so normally when I hear any new company, that's normally what I try to do. Just go, because most companies you'll find they have like a career section, and probably they might be hiring.
Yeah.
And then you can maybe refer someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank you so, so much, Harun. We really appreciated it. Anyone else with a question?
Okay, hi Harun.
Hi.
Mine is pretty simple. What are some of the things that working in remote you feel people overlook? Because I think when you say we're working remote, oh, it's about the glamour of my time is flexible, the work-life balance is great. What do you think are some of the things that are overlooked when someone is considering a remote role? Yeah.
Okay, I think number one is culture, which is at times heavily overlooked, because you're not talking to someone in person, and different cultures have different communication styles, which is something I realized, especially working with different people. So that is like a key thing, and it also affects probably how you communicate with others or how people communicate with you. So for example, you'll find some cultures are very polite, others are very direct. So, and if you have both team members from different countries, you have to find a way for people to communicate in a way that doesn't affect the other team member. So I think culture is also like a big thing. And also the other thing is communication, which can also kill the company or maybe make the company successful. You'll find that due to this flexibility or due to this autonomy that you have, it's easy for you to say you're working on a task daily without someone even checking whether you're working on it. So, or even it's easy to get stuck and not have help because all of you are remote, and at times you think maybe I'll text them or maybe I'll send them a Slack message and they'll not maybe reply to you in time and all that. So communication is also like another thing that the company has to work on, because you're working with people who you can see daily. So you have to make sure the communication is effective and all the team members are aware this is what we have to do, and this is in case you're stuck. It has to be like open communication channel. It has to be maintained in the company. So because I find if you lose the communication bit, you'll find like someone is stuck with an issue for like 2 months and they are not maybe 2 months is exaggerating, maybe let's say a week, and they're not even communicating because probably they don't know how to express themselves, or they are fearing that maybe people will see I'm not qualified. So I think communication is also key. Just learn how to express, even if you're having an issue. Even currently at Apollo, uh, yes, you might be very skilled, you might be having all the years of experience, but at times you can be stuck in a problem, and you have to find a way to communicate that. It doesn't mean that it makes you less qualified. It just means that you know this is a problem and you know how to communicate to your colleagues so that they can help you, because you'll find even working a colleague who is doing like another stack can even help you in something that maybe you are overthinking, or maybe something small that you are overlooking. So I think communication is also like another big factor that plays in remote working.
Okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
Harun.
Mm.
We really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we hope that your story will impact many devs or even one dev. That's actually always
Yeah.
our goal, just one. So
Yeah.
thank you. This is our tradition.
This one.
Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Keep on doing the amazing work.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go on. Just, you're saying?
I think thank you for having me and keep on doing the amazing work you people are doing.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.